Joe, let's start with you on the Sixers game. So Philly was a popular side in the opener versus the Boston Celtics. The open is a 4.5-point dog in the summer line. That goes to 6 in some spots. Then it gets all dragged all the way back down, and it closes 2.5 because everybody liked Philadelphia. And obviously then the Sixers pissed down their leg, turned the ball over a bunch. The Celtics played absolutely phenomenal. I was lucky enough to I just nibbled on the Sixers money line and I played the over and was managed to I was just happy to get out of that game alive was basically my take. Look, a big trend, and I wrote about this on Action Network, is home openers. Home openers are absolutely dynamite. It's a high motivational spot. So you got a team coming off of a loss in their home opener. There's no Chris Middleton for the Milwaukee Bucks. There's no Pat Connaughton for the Milwaukee Bucks. And this line, if we're going to adjust it, let's go ahead and give the Sixers 2 points, 2.5 maybe for home court. If we just give them 2, this is Sixers -1 on a neutral without Mid and Connaughton. I don't understand that line at all. Why do you like the Sixers in this spot?
Yeah, I'm with you with the Bucks injuries. I don't like the way that this team is kind of like coming into the season. And not that you want to take a lot from preseason, but you can take a lot from the fact that like they just didn't win. Like they look bad like in preseason. And not that that totally matters, but like this is a tough spot. Like it's tough to go on the road in Philly and win in that home opener. Like I think Philly has a pretty significant home court advantage with their fans, with that energy in that arena. Plus, like Philly just got punched in the mouth. They're going to come out strong. Like this is not like their first game of the season. Additionally, I think some of the things are going to be a little bit different for them. And one of those is James Harden. I saw the stat. He took like 500 plus dribbles in game 1. The next closest on the 76ers was Tyrese Maxey, and he was about 140. I just think that that's going to change between game 1 and game 2. Maybe have a little bit more ball movement, have the ball not stick as much, and really force the issue with Joel Embiid to kind of get in there. Plus, the Bucks don't have Al Horford, so I think that this is a good spot for Philly. I feel like they're a team that was designed to beat the Bucks. They match up pretty well, and I like this matchup for Embiid. I think he'll come out strong, especially after that relatively weak game 1 performance from him. So I like Philly in this spot, and I'll trust him to defend home court and lay those points.
Yeah, I also lean Philly. I lean your guys' way here. They had 2 fast break points against Boston. That's an insane, like putrid, whatever negative adjective you want to use. They averaged 14.6 last year at home fast break points for Philly. I think they'll be able to get out in transition, and we know how badly Milwaukee defends the 3-point.
Oh yeah.
So they're going to give up a lot of chances. And if James can, look anywhere close to what he looked like the other night, and Maxey can, Harden, Tobias, and Maxey all shot the 3 pretty well.
100%.
Milwaukee's going to be missing guys. And if they could put together a couple transition buckets and get some good looks from 3, I also lean Philly here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The matchup is curious just because I like Drew Holiday guarding James Harden. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
The transition thing I think is an interesting question here because the take foul, there's been some discussion of whether or not the take foul thing. I was talking about this with our former colleague Raheem Palmer and Brandon Anderson in a chat, and we were talking about how, and Harden is turnover prone, and that's the nature of his game. Embiid, not necessarily as much. He had a lot of turnovers versus the Celtics because he can't handle a double team, but not every team is going to double him. So the question kind of is, can the Bucks get out and run enough? Because now if you can't play the take foul, now you've got all these opportunities in transition to run it down their throat. Kind of the same. Like that's kind of the risk. I think that's tougher at home, right? You're making more shots than you're able to get back on defense. Now, like the Sixers put up a great offensive number in that game, in that first game.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get any stops because they were turning the ball over and the Celtics were getting out in transition. If I guess here's a question, Joe, is do you put this cap more on the Sixers offense or the Sixers defense to be able to get the edge here?
I put it honestly a little bit more on the offense. Part of what I saw too in the first game was I saw a lot of missed shots. Like there were a lot of shots that looked relatively wide open that the Sixers were just missing. And I think maybe that's a little bit of nerves. There's still a lot of guys that are new on this team. And I think having that like game 1 under their belts at this point, kind of getting a feel for each other in real live action and not just in the preseason, I think is important. And the other thing that I'm concerned about in terms of Milwaukee's defense is it's like you said, there's no Chris Middleton. They're missing a couple other guys for Milwaukee. And I wonder to what extent can Drew Holiday and Giannis like really expend energy on the defensive side of the ball when they really are going to need to be the offense. Like Drew can't get in foul trouble. If he's in foul trouble, they are cooked. They're going to have nobody to bring up the ball. They're not going to have the same facilitating ability. So I could see them maybe laying off a little bit defensively to try to preserve themselves because they need to put forward some sort of offense. So if anything, maybe like I have a little bit of a lean towards the over, but I think that favors the Sixers here.
All right, so let's talk about the total real quick because it's 225. I may wind up just playing the over on this. My model based off of last season's numbers, not a lot of changes with these rosters. Sixers added former Rockets, essentially, the members of the 2021 Rockets team, but not like a massive differential here. And if that transition thing is going to be a problem for Philly, I think there's a reason it might be. Like my model factors in half court and transition opportunities and breaks them down into what the projection is. I've got the Bucks projected for 25 transition points in this game. Like that's where their number really kind of pops here. I've got this number projected way over. Now it's last season's numbers. I'm always a little bit hesitant, but Sean, I do kind of like the over here. If we're modeling it this way, if we're projecting it this way, and we're saying Sixers offense should be able to get cleaner looks, they should be able to, like, their offense look good in game one. Milwaukee's going to have to really work on these type of things. Then Milwaukee still should be able to run a little bit, and Joe will come back to the prop in a sec. But I think from based off of this conversation, I'm moving towards betting the over as well on this game.
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to play even better than they did in game one on offense at home. Like you said, I don't see why. It has to be brought up at some point by Doc in between game one and game two that they literally, once Boston and those guys and Brown and Tatum, they were obviously unstoppable, but they got out and pushed it and scored a ton of fast break points, and we scored none. James needs to stop dribbling so much. Let Maxey get out and run out in front as well. I think they'll improve there, and that would mean more buckets, which would also lean to the over.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a circular logic in this, which I'm always a little bit cautious about. I get nervous when we try and like fit too much because I'm thinking like, all right, if team total is going to be like 114, and I'm like, well, maybe I should just play the Sixers team total over instead of the combined over. And it's like, well, I've already got the Sixers, so I could just keep with that. And if the Sixers put up 115, 118, are the Bucks going to be able to outscore them? It's possible because the Bucks do have a lot of shooters, but without Mid and Connaughton, I think that gets a little bit dicey. I guess if Wes Matthews and
Grayson Allen,
Grayson had tonight. So Joe
Lopez, I guess.
Yeah. So we kind of talk about like the higher, the kind of formula for the offense. Joe, why do you like the Giannis prop at 5.5?
So Giannis actually hit this prop in 53% of games last season, just as a whole. But that number actually spiked when Middleton was out. He actually hit this in 12 of 19 games without Chris Middleton. So that's 63%. I know that there's a lot of juice right now. It's at minus 150, but I still have about like a 20-cent edge in terms of implied probability there. So I like that prop. I think that this is going to be a high-paced game, and that's something that I'm considering as well. And I think that Giannis is going to need to take on that type of facilitator role if they're going to throw like Embiid at him. They're going to throw PJ Tucker at him. I think this is an opportunity where Philly might try to force the issue and get the ball out of Giannis's hands. So at the 5.5, I think this game should be relatively close, but I think it's going to be fast paced. So I like the 5.5, even at minus 150, and it's only available really at DraftKings right now. So I'm curious to see where it pops and how it pops on some of these other books. And maybe I'll add to the position. Right now I put like a quarter unit on it, but it's something that I'm probably going to add to if I see a little bit less juice or something like that on a different book.